You point out, Gerald, that the world's leaders, quite succinctly, that they're leading us effectively into a dark age. You recently, and I love this quote from your recent newsletter, you said that in the absence of a great awakening, there will be a great war. How have we missed it? What is that great awakening that you're talking about?
People have to find out who they are. You have to live your life the way you want it to be. You can't preach. You have to do it yourself. The motto of the Trends Research Institute is think for yourself. And people have to, just speaking for me, that, I believe that death to me is the great wake-up call, in the sense that you take those last breaths of life, you find out who you really are. Did you live up to the person that you said you claim to be? And to me, that's the hell. In that taking that last breath and showing that, and realizing, because there's nobody there other to judge you than yourself, that you've lied to yourself. And that's what people really need to do right now. When you pass on, you're going to pass on as the spirit that you claim to be. Because if you don't, hey, good luck. But taking it one step is what you also said about our leaders leading us. Let them lead. Anybody that wants to go to war, I want to see the president lead the troops, as the great leaders of the past did, as the Alexander the Great. These guys aren't leaders. They're commanders and chumps. They sit behind protected. You ever see the president go out? He walks out the door. He has bodyguards around him that could defeat most nations' armies. Leaders don't walk in fear. Let them lead. I'm tired of these Washington windbags telling us what our national security interests are. If Hillary Clinton goes to Hanoi and says that we're allies with them, and remember the Vietnam War, anybody who remembers how many of the U.S. soldiers were slaughtered because of those Vietnamese, remember them? And now they're our allies, and Hillary Clinton is saying that the dispute going on between China and Vietnam on the islands in the South China Sea are, quote, of the United States interest. They're not of our interest. They're not of my interest. And I don't need any windbag telling me what my interest is. This is all about what Smedley Butler said. It's a racket, and they're robbing us blind. Rebuild America, rejuvenate America. And also, we have to stop this trade policy. This isn't trade policy. This is doing business in slave labor lands and bringing the products back. And if you want to talk about hypocrisy, Jerry, look how we hate Cuba in this country. Oh, that communist Cuba. Oh, yeah, but you could do business with those red Chinese because you got a big bottom line.
Well, Gerald, let's fast forward 5, 10 years even, and let's see where this goes. What do you envision highly populated urban areas like Chicago, New York, San Francisco, L.A., what do you envision these urban areas looking like when this economic collapse that you envision really takes hold?
If the Democratic and Republican mafia continue to control the country, New York City and Chicago are going to look like Mexico City. What a wonderful place. You're going to start seeing kidnappings and crime. You saw it already. Anybody, again, that's paying attention. Current events form future trends. What were they offering? Section 8 housing in Atlanta recently? And 30,000 people showed up? My saying is that when people lose everything and they have nothing left to lose, they lose it. And they're starting to lose it. They're seeing the Wall Street gang robbing this country blind. And I love these politicians, these uppity guys, and women that run for office and take campaign contributions. They're not campaign contributions. Why can't we be adults about this? How about calling a spade a spade? They're bribes and payoffs. And that's what's happened to this country, Jerry. It's been sold out. It's been sold out to the biggest criminals in the history of the United States. It's the greatest bank robbery in world history, but the banks are doing the robbing. 10 of them. That's right, everybody. You could count them on two hands. They control 80% of the action. It's not the people go, Obama's a socialist, a communist. No, he's not. It's called fascism, the merger of state and corporate powers. You have the major companies controlling the country in agriculture, in retail. You go down the line, pharmaceuticals, the medical industrial complex, on, even to the point it's such an oligopoly. The Harvard, Princeton, Yale, bullets, bombs, and bank crew are running the show, even at the legal end. Look who's running the Supreme Court. The Harvard and Yale Club. The whole Supreme Court is stacked with a bunch of wankers from two great universities. They're not great universities. They're clubs that you go into so that you could skid through life by sucking up and playing the game. I want to make this really clear. Roberts, Scalia, all of them, Kagan, they're not smarter than I am or you are or anybody else is. I know how to read the law, and the only thing they do with the law is to distort it to make their friends fat and happy.
Gerald, one of the things I like about your political atheism is the fact that it doesn't allow you to get entangled in the right and the left bogus arguments. And I think many of our listeners have learned that instead of debating this right versus left just goofiness, their time is better spent preparing. And with all of the uncertainty in the economy, all of the uncertainty in the geopolitical realm, there has been a surge of growing interest in a survivalist mentality because if people see where this thing is heading, and yet most Americans, Gerald, are ill prepared in the event there's a food supply shortage. I mean, I heard one time on a show that a lady actually thought she was being interviewed. She thought grocery stores made food. What type of recommendations, Gerald, do you make to people who are seeing the writing on the wall? They want to make preparations for the worst. Is it worth getting off the grid in your estimation?
Getting off the grid is essential. Number two is get together with like-minded people. And number three, remember, most people are going to go down with the ship. I tell the story. I was in Chile during the earthquake recently, and I was the first guy down 14 flights of stairs. Most people froze. Only the strong are going to survive. Again, spiritually, emotionally, and physically. It's not a loser's situation. The winners will win. And it has nothing to fear. The future's coming. Be prepared for it. You can see the signs. So, for me, for example, make sure you have enough on hand to last several weeks. I'm not one of these people that want to, dig in for 10 months, 2 years. If it becomes that bad around here, exit stage right. I'm out of here. I'm not going to go down with this ship. And the other thing is to remember that with all of these buildings around the country in these old cities that are beautiful buildings going into disrepair, it's time for a new homesteading. And so people should start thinking of that. Get your kids out of the house that graduated college and can't get a job and get them on their feet. They could buy one of these homes what they could buy a used car for. And now with the technological age, you don't have to. You can really do work online and away from the central location. So there's a lot of opportunities. And then with the new technologies, getting off the grid is becoming more and more of a reality, something we've been writing about in the Trends Journal for many, many, many years. The time is now right for that to happen.
Gerald, you're not a financial advisor, so I'm not asking you for financial recommendations when I ask you this question, but given the current situation, what would your general advice be to those who are wanting to protect their financial assets?
I tell you what I do, and as you mentioned, I don't give financial advice, nor am I permitted to, so there's only myself speaking. I'm very heavily invested in gold. We called the bottom of gold in the Trends Journal in 2001 in December when it was 275. We called the gold bull run. It's in there in print, and I've been buying gold since. And I also, because we're a business and we need cash, and I have to make, I have to unfortunately put money into retirement accounts, for tax purposes. I'm invested in dollars, Swiss francs, and Canadian dollars. And the reason being is that if one goes up, the other goes down. The Swiss to me is the safest bet, because to me they're the money cockroaches of the world. They're not going anywhere. And all I want to do is I don't look to make money by not doing anything. All I want to do is to preserve what I have. So gold is my wild card, and my cash hedges are to preserve my wealth, not to keep my money all in one currency. And what we do with the excess cash that we have, that I recommend to everyone, and I have no problem recommending this at all, invest in yourself. Any money that you have that you want to invest in the Merrill Lynch mob or the Goldman Sachs gang or the Citigroup, crime organization, think about putting it in your own business first. And even if you're not in business, in your profession, as whatever art you love to do, invest it in yourself. Use it for yourself to keep growing your own person and family and friends around you. And also, that whole line about don't invest in friends, you'll make enemies. Who are you going to invest in? Strangers? Invest in friends that have great ideas and that you believe in and that have proven their worth. This whole mentality that you'll give your money to a stockbroker. The reason they call them stockbrokers is because you're broker than where you began. So invest in yourself, invest in your friends, and invest in your future.
Great advice, Gerald. It's been great having you on the program this week. People would like to get in touch with you, order your newsletter, which I highly recommend. They can do so at trendsjournal.com. Is that correct?
That's correct, trendsjournal.com. And by the way, Jerry, we know people are having a tough time out there, so there's a discount request form. We try to make it. Just fill it out. It's all confidential. No personal information required. And just tell us what your situation is, and we'll do our very best to make the Trends Journal available to everyone that wants it.
That's fantastic, Gerald. Well, they can learn more about that at trendsjournal.com. Gerald, we look forward to having you back on the program soon, sir.
Hey, thank you, Jerry.